Yo, what up, YouTubers? It's Jacob Aguilar here. Just wanted to kind of introduce myself. I'm the owner and operator of Slimson Engines and Fabrication. I run it out of Northeast Florida. It's a fabrication shop right out of my home garage, where I do my own restoration projects and everything. So anything from engine building, rear end rebuilds, transmissions, transfer cases, restorations, complete full engine builds, anything you want done, I do it here. This is the first video I'm hoping of a bunch of a series. I want to plan on starting a thing called Slim's Garage. Hopefully it's a video series of doing a bunch of burnouts, four-wheel drive trucks, hot rod cars, building engines, etc. Finishing restoration projects. Hopefully it becomes a thing. But today's video, I wanted to do a tutorial for the guy who wants to get into engine building. I know engine building can be intimidating for a lot of guys. I know it costs a lot of money to have a lot of engine building tools. So for me, I made this video on the premise of I wanted something for the small guy to be able to do for himself and know that he's not going to absolutely break the bank buying tools for these things. So let's get started. One of the first tools is a very important tool. A lot of guys get intimidated by these things, which I don't really understand why. It's a great tool, and it's actually a cam bearing tool. Cam bearing installation and everything. It's a great tool. It works awesome. It comes with an excessive ramrod here, well constructed for you to beat with a hammer, whichever you choose. Your heads screw right on, and they have expansioning rubber cases over top of them. So protects your bearings when you're installing them or removing them, as this expands to fit the diameter of your bearing. Comes with its own cone, so it'll sit in the snout of the front crank bearing journal. So it'll actually guide the piece through straight, directly straight, so you don't install a bearing cockeyed or break it and snap it. So you shouldn't have any issues with this tool. It comes with more thinner, delicate black sleeves. Don't know if you can really tell here. There you go, getting the light there. But these are thinner. They're for probably more of a thicker bearing that can take more of a harder pounding. Typically on the thinner bearings, I use the thicker wall because it's just a little bit more cushion between that and the metal, so you don't end up cracking the bearing or chipping any of the material off of it, because as we all know, that's bad as an engine builder. And for my own preference, I found that if you heat this shorter snout up, you can actually pull the threaded piece out of it and then use it as a tool for your piece here, for your expansions, in case you need to do like a front cam bearing or something that you don't need the extra long rod for. It makes it easier convenience for you to be able to hit it with a hammer. So that's just my own learning. So in case you do buy one, that's a trick. Heat it up with a little propane torch. Should back right out of there. No issues. Then you need to put it back in to make it an extension piece for like your straight six or your Cummins motor or something. Does that perfectly right back to as if you bought it. It's a great tool. I love this tool. I think every person who's going to try to get into engine building should own one. Whether you get this one from Lyle or one from Powerhouse, either one's going to run you about 145 bucks, I do believe. I'll go back and check the pricings here on this stuff because I don't want to give you any wrong pricings. Where's this cam bearing? Yep, 145 bucks. So not that expensive, and the thing's super well constructed. You'll have that thing for the next 10 to 15 years easily. On to the next one, so we don't take up too much time here. This one is another good tool that you are gonna want to have. You gotta have these for engine building. These are micrometers, and these are from Powerhouse. I love them. They are great constructed. They go all the way down to the 10 thousandths. Completely well constructed all the way 0 through 6 inches. This was kind of costly. This was $220, but it has everything that you need. It has calibrator rods and everything to make sure that it's all set to perfectly 5, 4, 3, 2 inches, whatever you need. It comes with all of the wrenches for each size of the micrometer, so you can adjust them and remake them back or recalibrate them to specifics, and they're just great. I mean, I could not have asked for a better package. And I mean, look how well packaged this is. I mean, this is complete foam, complete everything. I mean, it's just well constructed, and an amazing wood box. Completely tough and durable with latches on the front. Would definitely recommend people buy these. They're great. Another couple of things I'm going to want to show you are pretty simplistic. This one, for an instance, crank sockets. They're around $33, Summit Racing. And like I said, all these tools are not the most expensive tools. These things are the intermediate tools that I have bought myself because I work a normal everyday job and have to buy this stuff, you know, not sponsored. Anybody watching though? Help a guy out. Slim's Engines. These are great. I love them. It's from Powerhouse, same as those micrometers. This is for big block, small block, and FE motors for Fords. Has the piece for your degree wheel put right on. Perfect. It works absolutely amazing. Have had no issues with them. They're great. They sell them for everything. Small block, Mopar, Buick, everything. Another great tool from Powerhouse, ring filer. Got to have a piston ring filer. Sorry for the finger there, guys. But this thing is just absolutely well constructed. I mean, completely thick, good cast aluminum. I've dropped it a bajillion times. It clamps right in the vise. You can put a threaded bolt in the end and make it run by a drill. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Gotta have one of these. It has a diamond wheel. It cuts piston rings down like butter. So definitely want to look into getting one of yourself, one of these. So especially if you're building your own engine. Why pay someone to file rings? You can do it yourself. Anything you can do at home, do it yourself. Don't pay somebody. It's just crazy. Another good tools that you gotta have are these. Got to have these. These are not these. This, a dial bore gauge. Some people like to use plastic gauge still to these days. I'm not a plastic gauge fan. Wasn't even in my college program when I learned how to do it. Never was a fan. Didn't ever get into that. I was always into the dial bore gauge and micrometer standards. But this thing is completely awesome. I mean, complete full kit, absolutely. All the anvils, a 2-inch extension. I mean, it is amazing. Comes with all of your extra washers, you know, 120 thousandths, 80 thousandths, 40 thousandths, 20 thousandths. I mean, it is absolutely perfect. I mean, I love this thing. The only thing that is bad about this one is it's short. So you will have to take bearing caps off when you do this. You will have to take bearing caps off as you proceed through the motor. And work your way either from the front or from your rear to the front, whichever way you go. You will probably have to pull off bearing caps. But other than that, it's a great tool. I think it was like $190, I think I wanted to say. 190. Trying to think, where's the dial bore gauge? I had it written down here. I've got it written down on the list. Here. Yeah, it was it's $164, so it's actually gone down from the last time that I bought it. When I bought mine was $195, so it's actually gone down in price. So the prices of these have actually changed, and a lot of them actually have gotten lower, seeing as we're getting closer to seasons of the seasons. And so that's it. It's $164, not bad at all. Completely awesome. Another thing is a valve spring compressor. I'm not going to grab it off of the shelf up there where I keep it, but that big blue piece right there is a Proform valve spring compressor. It has a pull pin to where you can raise it higher and lower for whatever size head you could do. You can do 331 Hemis. I do know that for a fact. I know someone that has used this ring compressor on one. It's a great functioning tool. I love it. Never had an issue with it. It's great. So definitely may want to look into getting a Proform valve spring compressor so you can take your valves out, do your heads, and do some valve lapping if you're from 65 or 70. And the other piece that's hanging from it is I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's a plastic rod guide. That's from Powerhouse as well. I think that was around 20 bucks. Some people may agree with having one, some people may not. I like to have it just for the preference of knowing that I have it, and I can also beat the piston out of a cylinder if I need be, if it's kind of being stubborn. So I like them. I know a lot of people that use just rubber fuel line over top of the studs, slide them through, never have issues. So it's your preference on those pieces there. Trying to think of what else that I can go on around here. Well, this right here, these two tools, actually, let me close up my other tool before I go throwing around tools on top of it, on top of my dial bore gauge, is this right here. And you're going to definitely want this for for checking clearance, piston protrusion, and stuff like that. Powerhouse magnetic deck bridge. Love it. You can put up to 3 dial indicators on this thing. So you can check how much piston protrusion comparison to the actual deck height. So anything that goes to that, this thing's awesome. You definitely want to have these. If you're doing like land speed runs like how Freiberger and them did on their Camaro, definitely want one of these for checking protrusion of pistons. You've got to make sure your clearances are going to work, because then clearance is going to have a problem. So then, just as a spare, always carry a dial indicator. It's always just good to have a spare one on. This is from Comp Cams. I love them. It works great. It's a great spare. And the reason why I say that, it's just always good to have a spare. You just never want to be caught, essentially being caught with your pants down. You don't ever want to be that guy. Here's a couple more things. We're just about to the end of the tools that I actually have to show for engine building. So then, I mean, if you agree with this or not, comment and let me know if you guys want to see more, how to read a dial bore gauge, how to read a micrometer. I'll do all of those videos. I am perfectly well and happy to do explanations on how these things work, how to use them, and I'm always willing to help somebody out. And if someone has advice for me, I'm always willing to take it. I do not know everything. That's just human nature. But the next tool, rod vise. Gotta have one. It makes life 5,000 times easier than having to try to clamp your rod in a vise, and then it gets nicked and chipped, and it's just a bad sight. You don't want to do that. Done it before. It works. It don't really work that well. Just get one of these. I think this was 95 bucks. It's very well constructed, as you can tell. Super thick anodized aluminum. Super thick threads on the piece. The only bad part is it's a turn handle. Big deal. Cry me a river. Don't care. I like to tighten it down. It works perfect. It's an awesome tool. I've had it for a few years. Don't see this thing going anywhere out of my vise at all. So definitely get a rod vise. They're worth it. And then the next thing is, this is for finding like crankshaft end play, or finding things like finding your backlash in a rear differential if you're doing gears and stuff like that. It's a great thing to have. This is a magnetic stand deck base for a dial indicator. It's twist knob, it's turn, it's magnetic. It works great. I love it. I use it mainly for rear ends and crank end play. Every now and then I'll use it for finding, for valve lift and stuff like that. I'll use it for things like that, of how much your cam's lifting, or at 50. So you can use it for just about almost anything you want. They're just great to have on base anyway. So definitely I would recommend getting a magnetic base. Is it a true necessity? Absolutely. Not really. You can find crank and play with a feeler gauge and stuff like that. So it's all based of your opinion, based of what you want to do. But definitely I would recommend this. So with that being said, most of these tools I would recommend you having. They'll make your life a lot easier, and I think it makes engine building a lot easier. And as I said at the beginning of the video, when you've got the right tool, it makes life easier. It really does. I think that's it. I showed you my cam bearing tool. I've showed you my magnetic deck bridge. I've showed you my dial bore, my micrometers, my file ring, my piston ring filer, my crankshaft sockets. The only other tool that you definitely are going to want to have is this. Harmonic balancer puller. This is from Performance Tools. It's kind of the cheaper brand from the Summit catalog. Never had any issues with it. It's great construction. It has great parts inside. Don't see any issues with it. Comes with a great array of bolts, studs, everything to fit inside the snout of your crank. Just always make sure you put Moly lube on the end of your threads, just so your stuff doesn't get stuck in the end of the snout of the crankshaft or the tool. Any other thing than that, I would not recommend anything different. Use it the way it's meant to be and just hammer it. I mean, it works great. I've had buddies of mine that have went and spent 3 times the amount of money on a harmonic balancer tool, and mine worked just as good as theirs, if not actually better than theirs. So it's all based on your opinion and what you want to spend. The total for all these parts today was $1,210.73. And I know that sounds like a big chunk of change, but when you actually break it down and see that you actually own over 15 different engine building professional tools, I think you'll start to understand to yourself that you really did get a good bang for your buck. You'll be able to use these tools for years to come. Your kids will be using these, and maybe hopefully your grandkids will be using these tools. I've used them a lot. I love them. I've had no issues with them. The only other thing that may actually come into play is when you're installing pistons is use one of these. This is by ARP. They're $55, and I will say they are expensive. Well worth your while to own one. It's a tapered ring compressor. You don't have to cut your fingers all to death for doing one piston with that cheap $5 razor blade. Then you don't got to worry about having to turn it over with an Allen wrench and making sure your piston rings didn't turn. Things like that didn't happen. So in actuality, they're worth the $50. Just buy them, and you'll have a stack of these things for years on every single engine size you could possibly think of. Person, 30,000s, 20,000s, 55, whatever it may be. Just buy them. They're worth it. And they make your life so much easier, and you just feel professional with them. So definitely recommend getting these. That's the only tools I really have to show you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was very informational. Like I said before, if you are interested in knowing more about dial bore gauges, micrometers, anything further about engine building, I'm still in the middle of building this engine that's stuck here in the Roadkill Garage style blanket back here, wrapped up, kept safe. I'll be finishing that engine with a new set of cylinder heads here soon, and if you guys would like to see a video with that, I'll post that up and continue with the series of hopefully with the beginning of Slim's Garage. I hope you guys like them. I hope maybe you guys will support it, and maybe we can make a thing going. So I hope you guys have a great one. Thanks.